Leave Instagram then.
Okay, hello all. I see 2 people watching already. Hello all, this is Virginia from Athens, Greece. Welcome to our Ask Your Mentor Anything live. Please do let us know where are you watching us from and if you can hear us well. We are live also on Instagram, but I cannot see you, Herman, there. Have you entered? We are here today with Herman Boel. Herman,
hello.
Welcome. So, are you in my live on so as to add you there on Instagram as well? Because
okay, I can see you.
Okay, now I'm inviting you. Add, and then we are going both of us live. Waiting for Herman Boel.
Okay, I should be appearing now.
You see? Here as well. Okay, what we can do? Minimize the sound.
Yeah,
from the Instagram. And you should do the same.
Hang on, because I've never done this before.
Yeah, it's okay. Always the first time. So hello all. If you're watching us, you can watch us live from the Facebook page, which is public, our YouTube channel on YouTube, and also in 2 Facebook groups, Mentoring for Translators and Starting Out as a Translator group on Facebook. We're going to use some headphones on Herman's iPhone in order not to hear my voice twice. And Herman, you can minimize the sound of your phone. Minimize it.
Yeah, but it should be okay now.
Yeah, now I cannot hear. So thank you so much. Hello all, stay with us. We're going to discuss today a topic that everyone has been asking me for. So Herman was the ideal candidate and speaker for this topic, is how to double your income and also to scale up. So I see some comments also. Hello, everybody. Everything is fine. Good sound, good image. Hello from Praga, Portugal. Hello all. Hello from Alicante, Spain. Great. So many people watching us already. If you want your comments to show up on our screen while we're broadcasting, I would suggest you to click on the link that is above the live on Facebook and to click on the link and add them so as your name to be allowed to be broadcasted in our live. Because now I just only see Facebook user. The sound is good, Virginia. Your image is not good for me. I'm sorry for that. It's only my image that's not good. Who is that says the image is not good? Herman, can you see me well?
I can see you nice, but you're a bit blurred.
Really? Because now it doesn't seem to be blurred to me. Okay. Maybe I should do something here. I hope like this doesn't close. I'm going to use my data on my phone instead of the Wi-Fi. Can you hear me? Can you see me?
Yeah. Okay.
I just made some settings, so everything still continues. Hello all. We are going to start because you have so many question. I want to see your questions in the comment section. Herman is also a member in our group, so if we cannot address all of your questions during the live, the actual live, we're going to deal with them later in the group or on my page. Herman, welcome. Can you introduce yourself to those that might not know you already, because we're in public pages as well, not only in the group?
Okay, well, I'm Herman Boel. That's how you pronounce my surname, by the way.
I'm sorry, that's right.
It's okay. I live in Belgium, in the Flemish part, about 25 kilometers west from Brussels. I have been a freelance translator now for 9 years, translating from English and French into Dutch. And before that, I have been a project manager for 15 years in several rather big translation agencies. So that's more or less my career so far.
So that is great, because you can share some experience like you had from the other side of our business, like the project management. So let's start with the main questions that I ask all the speakers and in interviews that come here, because these are the main questions by my mentees and also the members of the group, like how did you start out and how did you find your first client?
Well, I had, of course, a big bonus and plus because I came from within the industry. I had been a project manager for 15 years. So I knew exactly how things worked. I knew the software. I knew what the clients wanted. I knew the other agencies, so it was relatively easy for me to start. And I immediately had clients, first of all, the agencies where I had worked, because those were, of course, the first one that I addressed. So it was fairly easy to get going and to start with a relatively good income from day one. So yeah, that's how I started.
And the first client was?
Probably the agency where I last worked.
Okay, so, because yeah, I can say the same experience. I was an in-house translator in a big company, so my first client was actually the direct client. Okay, for me, the company that I used to work for. And do you remember the moment that you did scale up as a freelancer?
Yeah, but that was not before 6 years later. So I had been working mainly for agencies.
Okay.
And I felt that something was missing. I mean, I was just translating. Translations came in, translations went out, and that was it. I hardly ever saw the result of my translation. I had no contact with the person that needed the translation. So I decided, okay, this should change. I should really start working with more direct clients. I had a few, but not many. And I wanted to turn my one-man business into like a mini translation agency, a one-man translation agency, where I also offered other languages or translations into Dutch, but outside of my specializations, and really get in contact with the direct clients. And of course, something also very important, earn a lot more. That was, of course, also one of the
That's our topic today. It's money.
Indeed.
And do you have any efficient, like what is your most efficient, if we can say like that, client acquisition strategy that you can use? You can share like in a bit short, and then we can go in detail to our topic.
Well, actually, there's two methods that I prefer, one active and one passive. The active one is very simple. Do networking, get to know other entrepreneurs or companies, of course, without the intent of doing sales, just to get to know them. They get to know you, you learn from them, they learn from you, you meet them, of course, physically. And these days it's more virtually. And you plant seeds everywhere. And one of the days, perhaps in 1 year, perhaps in 3 years, those seeds may come out and become beautiful flowers. So that's the active part. The passive part is even more fun because you don't have to do anything for it. It's basically my clients referring me to other clients.
Referrals.
Other new clients.
Referrals.
That's very nice, very interesting, very profitable, and you don't have to do anything for it. Well, which is not really 100% true, because
exactly.
you have to be professional. You have to treat your client very nicely. They have to be extremely happy, otherwise they will never refer to you. So
it takes a lot of work behind in order for someone to refer you. So it might seem to be passive, but it's very active in the background in order to achieve that stage of your career. So someone else refers you because it's great honor, at least for me, to refer you to another client. It means like you provide them very good work. You are a professional, as you said. The quality of your work is very good. So there are many reasons for someone to refer you to another client, and it's the most common. Answer that I get as the most efficient strategy, if you want. But I'm very interested in the networking that you already suggested, because I really like to learn from you guys that I host here. Okay, we lost Herman for some reason. Herman, I have you on Instagram, but I don't have you on here. Okay. Hello again. Something with a connection?
I don't know what happened.
Thank you. Thank God you're back. Okay, I was saying, like, I really like to learn from you guys that I have you here. So I would really like to learn from you. You said networking, and I love networking. But you mentioned entrepreneurs and other companies. So can you just mention one or two ways where can someone network with other entrepreneurs or companies? And probably you mentioned your direct clients. Circles.
Well, it's of course a bit different according to the country you are.
Yes.
in principle, every country has organizations of associations of small businesses, medium-sized businesses, probably also big businesses, but that's not really for us. You simply go to those associations, organizations. You can, most of the time, you can have a tryout once or twice that you can go to them, go to the meeting, meet other people, eat and drink at the same time. That's usually connected. At least it is here. And you get to meet people. And if you feel like this is a nice group, this is a nice setting, this organization has the right people for me, then you can become a member, or there are other subscription methods, like the one I'm in. It's a big association of small and medium-sized businesses. They have a magazine. You can publish in the magazine, and in return, you get invited to all kinds of networking events.
Is it with a paid membership? How does this work?
No, this is you pay publication. You pay your advertising in the magazine, and in return, you get invited.
Yeah, I asked about the organization, not only the magazine, like participate in these networking events, to be part of that organization that you mentioned. Is it association or something? Is there a membership to be a member there?
No, in this case, it's just a magazine. But you have those with memberships like BNI, for instance.
Okay, yes, we have here as well, yeah.
I'm not sure that that's good for a translator. That depends on the individual chapter. But yeah, I mean, there's plenty of, you can start with the Chamber of Commerce in your country. They usually have a nice list of all organizations that do these kind of things.
We don't have in Greece that much organized type, but it's a great suggestion for people that live in Belgium or in other European countries, or maybe in the US or wherever they are. They might find other ways, or this kind of ways that you describe. Because it's very clever as a networking method in order to find direct clients, at least at first. So it's great you shared with us your stories. So Herman, for those who are just joining us, did scale up by turning from working with agencies to working with direct clients. You entered the direct clients market, I assume. Is that correct?
Yeah, well, I'm still working for agencies, but a lot less than before. Yeah,
me too. Yeah, the same. But I think that at least most of the speakers here that they have been hosted in these live events and sessions, they have mentioned that they got their scale up. They did scale up as freelancers or business owners when they did work for direct clients. Okay, and you mentioned some ways so people can do it. If you missed the actual live, you can also, there will be a recording, so don't worry if you are just joining us. There will be a recording also on YouTube, also in the public page of mine, also in the Mentoring for Translators group. If you see a bit dark, Herman, is because there is some technical or side issue. If you want to see a bit brighter, he's on Instagram very bright enough. The sound, if the sound on Instagram is not so well, you can skip and find us on Facebook as well or on YouTube. So the time that you've been waiting for before is the topic of our today's session. And also later, Herman will explain us how he's also into mentoring and what's his interest in that also. But let's get into the topic, because we're going to be only live on Instagram for 1 hour. It's interrupted like automatically from Instagram. So let's start with our topic. How I did thought of our topic and Herman to have here is, first of all, okay, I know Herman and now he's professional, but the topic itself, it was because Herman presented a very nice, and I got very good reviews and feedback, a workshop at the BP conference we had last week, and I was a speaker there, but Herman held a workshop with 25 participants. It was 3 hours, Herman, is that correct?
Even more.
Even more. So imagine there is a lot of information that we won't be able to share today, actually, because the actual live here is 1 hour, 1 hour and a half maximum. So we are just going to talk a bit about the topic to have an idea what Herman did teach during this workshop. And I'm really interested in your workshop. So you would like to start with the workshop topic a bit?
Yeah. Well, the workshop consisted of 3 parts. The second part was the organization of your business. The third part was, of course, marketing and networking. But the first part, which is actually the most important one and which is a very undervalued topic, is personal leadership. Personal leadership does not mean being a leader of someone else, but being leader of your own life, have a grip of your own life. It has to do with having a lot of confidence and not being hindered by negative events from the past, which can subconsciously hinder us, which are the cause of us not really going 100% for our business.
Okay.
Now, that part is very hard to explain in a very short while, but having confidence in what you do and being able to deal with negative incidents, with setbacks, is an extremely important part if you want to really go and go full steam with your business. Now, what is important?
Can you repeat a bit the topic, the exact title of the workshop for those that didn't attend or weren't attendees of the BB conference? It was the same about today's topic? No.
Hang on, can you repeat, because I didn't catch
the title of the workshop, because I didn't say the title of the workshop.
Same. It was how to double your income in a couple of years' time.
In a couple of years' time, that's the exact title, because people are asking that they didn't attend, they didn't know. So doubling your income as a freelance translator in a few years' time.
Yeah, which is what I did myself. That's why I can talk about it.
So you shared your own experience.
Yeah. So basically, we assume, of course, that you start as someone who mainly translates for agencies and who wants to go and translate for direct clients. I know that not everybody believes in it, but to me, there is indeed a lower market and an upper or premium market. The lower market being companies that want a translation, but they care more about the low cost than the high quality. And that's where agencies come into play. That's for whom agencies mainly translate. But then there are the clients, the companies who feel, look, the quality of our text, of our translations is extremely important because it has a direct impact on our image and reputation, and therefore also on our sales. And they are prepared to pay good money to get this quality translations. So those are the clients that we would like to target.
And the ideal clients who can say that, if you want to double your income. I'm just rephrasing what are you saying in order to keep up with you. Okay. Excuse me, Herman, I'm sorry for that, but they are saying like your voice is very faint on Instagram. Do you have maybe closer your speaker only, not the headphones, the speaker of the headphones near your, like somewhere.
I'll keep it very near to me.
And also because creative translation works say that you can also watch us on Facebook and YouTube. So if the sound is not correct on Instagram, you can find us on Facebook or YouTube as well. So find us there.
So anyway, to continue my story. So if you want to serve that premium, that upper part of the industry, that good paying part, most important thing is, of course, quality. Quality is a word that always returns. Not only quality in translation, but also quality in service, in how you serve clients. That is of extreme importance. Okay, yeah, if you've got that, there are still 3 more other conditions that you need to fulfill in order to be able to raise your income. The first one is you have to be prepared to offer other languages and or translations in other specializations than your own. Now, why is that? Because if you only translate into your language, if you only translate texts in your specialization, there is a certain limit. Even if you can find better paying clients, you can only work so many hours a day, so many hours a week. There is a limit.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
What if you share such projects with other translators and you can undertake a bigger volume in the specific specialization, specific language combination? And I'm talking about my own experience on that, because I did scale up with specific languages and specific specialization myself. So I'm sharing the other part of the discussion here. Would that be a way to scale up, maybe, like as an alternative, or do you see also there a limit?
So as long as you remain within your own specialization, there will always be a limit. You have to do other things. You have to offer other things. So and that's the second condition. So you must be prepared to subcontract.
Okay.
Which means in order to subcontract, you need to have a very nice network. And you need to make sure that that network consists of people that are at least as professional as you are.
Okay.
This is not easy. This is
very
also the reason why I go to conferences. Well, the BP conference is to meet people and to talk to them. And when you talk to them, you immediately feel if they mean serious business or not. So that's how I make my network. Of course, for my own language, it's easy because usually you know the people from your own country. And then there was a third condition, which I'm currently forgetting about. And of course, you have to be prepared to do the marketing and networking, because you may be the best translator in the world. If nobody knows, you won't have any work. So these are the three conditions you must be prepared to do, all three of them, not just one. And if you can do all three of them, then you're set. Important to know as well is that it takes 1.5 to 2 years to build a nice portfolio of direct clients. And the first first 5 clients are the hardest ones. Once you've got a few direct clients, you've got 4, 5, 6 of them, finding new ones become easier.
Okay, you mentioned the whole strategy in just a few moments. So if someone is here following you, they have understood the core of what you're saying and the strategy that you're implementing. They say that there is some outer sound, but might be on your side. If the other people have problem with the sound, please do let us know on Facebook. I mean, I have questions, and that's the story here in order to have a discussion. You mentioned really fast about confidence, and why I'm returning back to that is that one of the main aspects I always deal with my mentees when we work on a specific period, like 3 months, my mentoring program, or whatever, is to gain confidence. It's always a part of our mentoring, and I think that rarely we hear about that. I always include such topic in my presentations, but I'm very glad that we share the same opinion on that. So do you have something to share about that, how someone could work towards like increasing their confidence and becoming more confident as entrepreneurs, because that's what we are talking about?
I think doing it alone by yourself, it's not going to be easy. It's easier if you've got someone who can guide you and help you with that. That's exactly what I'm doing with the people I coach, because most of the beginners or beginning translators have a lot of fear. They do not feel confident. They don't know, should I do this? Should I do that? Now, if there's someone with more experience who can guide them, who can tell them, watch out for this, do that, it'll be a lot easier.
Yeah.
It will also help them dealing with setbacks, because we all have setbacks. Even the best translator in the world experiences setbacks in his or her career. And the better you can deal with them, the better you can go ahead. So that's why confidence is so extremely important. Not only confidence, but getting rid of everything that is negative. So we all have a rucksack with negative emotions from the past or negative events from the past. The sooner we can get rid of that, the better we can work on our business. But the whole theory and all the exercises that you can do to build this confidence, to get rid of these negative emotions, that would take way too much time to explain here, I'm afraid.
I have some very short tips that I can share about confidence. At least I do that to myself whenever I don't feel very well or very confident enough. You can go back and see positive reviews and feedback from your clients. And I know that some colleagues are already doing that. So you could have a file where you can include them, copy paste them, and have them together in one space. If you do not post them online, or if you do not include them on your website, or if they're personal messages, copy paste them and have them in one file, or in specific, you can have all of them on your email folder. And whenever you don't feel very confident enough, or you feel like you would like to deal with some, as Herman mentioned, setbacks, you can go there, watch them, and read them, and find out what did you do well, what are your advantages and your not weak points, but your strong points. And I think that's a great exercise you can do whenever you don't feel that confident enough. I always suggest that to do.
I can perhaps give 2 tips on this. The first one is, when something happens, what we usually do is talk to ourselves in our head, either with an out loud voice or not. What we should try to do is not to talk to ourselves, but talk to someone else, but in our head. So not a true someone else, but someone we look up to, for instance. That can be a successful person, that can be a very good friend. Doesn't matter, as long as it's someone whom you look up to. Because if you talk to that, and also try to talk to that person in another language than your mother tongue. I usually use Spanish.
Okay.
Why? Because, of course, my vocabulary in Spanish is much more limited than my vocabulary in my mother tongue. So I tend to use simpler words. I tend to simplify the problem because I'm talking into another language. So I'm talking to this other person in my head, and this other person will reply to me, but will say other things than I would say to myself. Why? Because I'm pretending it's someone else. So the answers are still coming from within you, but there's pretend from another person. And after a few minutes, you may have reached a very, very easy solution, or you may feel a lot better about yourself just by doing the small exercise.
Okay, that's very interesting.
Also, if this is someone you look up to, you should follow this person everywhere you can on social media. Because then you get to know this person better, you get to know how he or she talks, what he or she writes. So it's even easier to make this conversation in your head. The second tip is, whenever something happens, we give a meaning to what happens. And our meaning is either positive or negative. Now, for instance, let's say you've delivered the translation to a client and you've received bad feedback. Now, there's 2 ways you can give it a negative meaning and start wallowing and complaining about yourself, and you see, I'm not a good translator, I should stop in this business, etc., etc.
Oh, yeah.
That's a
negative thoughts. That negative thoughts.
You can give it a positive meaning. Okay, I did badly on this, but I learned this and this and this from it, and next time I won't make the same mistake. The effort is the same, but you will feel a lot better after having given a positive meaning. So giving positive meaning to things that happen now, but also negative things from the past, will make you feel a lot better about yourself.
Okay.
So those are 2 ways that can give you confidence.
In a very short way, in very targeted way, Herman already mentioned how to turn negative thoughts into positive thoughts, and how strong our thoughts are in order to become good entrepreneurs. And also he mentioned a very exercise, difficult, I would suggest. So if you want more details how to exercise this practice that just Herman mentioned, you can reach Herman later in the group.
Yep.
We have a question, like a Facebook user, because you haven't clicked on the link above the video in order to see your name. Someone so asked, aren't direct clients nowadays more demanding on the type of delivery and file, like translation, review, DTP, etc.? Meaning, can and should you make it clear that you are a translator to work with, and clients you must have several skills or partnerships? That was the question.
It's a good question, and the answer is yes. So that's why one part of the workshop was the organization of your business, which means actually hard and software.
Okay.
Of course, you need hard and software to do your business. And the better you know your software, the better software that you have, the better service you can give your direct client. Just to give one example, when I was working in translation agencies and we got a PDF file from a client, we didn't ask questions. We simply translated the PDF file and sent the translated Word file back. Yeah. If I now get a PDF file from a client, I check how the PDF file was made. For instance, it was made with Adobe InDesign. And then I asked the client, okay, just send me the Adobe InDesign file, and I give all the explanation why this is beneficial to me, but also to him, especially to him. The client will be more than happy then with all these benefits to send you the InDesign file, and in these days, a CAT tool can take care of an InDesign file and you can translate it or have it translated. So the better you know your tools, the better you know your software, the better you can serve him. Of course, you cannot do everything. If the client also requires DTP, if he requires voice recording, you have to work with partners. You have to work with other people that are also in your network. So your network should not only consist of translators, but can also consist of copywriters, DTP people, voice people, subtitlers, whatever. Of course, you decide yourself how far you want to go in this.
You suggest to put a limit in the clients that we accept?
Yes, the limit being your own quality. The moment you can no longer assure a good quality, you should refuse the client. That's what I call an integrity threshold. Which can be, I have a nice article on it on my website. People can go
you can share it later in the comments. You can share it to people.
Do you want me to explain, or do you have something else?
Yes, a bit I'm commenting to people because you see here the comments underneath us. So there is, Francis says, the method of talking to yourself that you mentioned in another language is quite special and they say they wrote it down.
Okay, good.
So I'll do it later.
So the integrity threshold is basically, you have a certain quality threshold. This is the minimal quality that I want to deliver to my clients. And the higher it is, the better, because that's why clients come to you, because they know that you provide this quality. Every project that you're asked to do that would force you to go below this threshold, you simply refuse.
Yeah.
But you explain why, of course.
Are you always sure that it's going to be bad quality, or you sometimes take the risk? Are you always sure? Because some projects or some clients are new to us, so we might not be able to deal with them, but sometimes we deny.
Well, you're the one who knows yourself best.
Yeah, of course.
So you should know, of course, in the beginning, it can be a little bit of trial and error, but that shouldn't take too long. But like, for instance, if a client, that's also the example that I give in the article. If a client asks me to translate 10,000 words by tomorrow, even if he would pay me 100,000 euros, I would still refuse.
Yeah.
That's the difference between us and translation agencies, because translation agencies will move heaven and earth to have a translation, even if it's not that good, but they want that turnover. They are more money oriented, where we are more quality oriented. Being quality oriented means the money will come anyway.
Okay.
Now, you will not lose this client if you tell him, I will not do this for you because I cannot assure my own quality. If this is a client who's really interested in quality, if he's not your client. He's not the client you want or are looking after, or looking for. So if you explain this well to this client will see that you are a true professional, only wanting to deliver quality, and he'll get back to you if he wants this real quality. That's also
not very easy, when we actually deal with the client, because I have so many examples about that. But did I interrupt you? You would like to add something to that?
Add something to?
What you were saying, like the last sentence, did I interrupt you? Do you like something to add to what you were saying about this? I just wanted to add that it's very difficult. Like, actually, it's what you're saying, it's the ideal situation. But when it comes to actually dealing with the client and negotiating the terms of cooperation, the deadline, it's very difficult. And I'm telling that from the part that I usually deal with companies and business translation, which sometimes they're not that quality oriented, but
you have to put your foot down.
Oriented. Yeah.
You have to put your foot down. This is my threshold, period. I do not go below it. If they do not accept that, then they're not your client. You're not the client you want. they are not the client you want.
Yeah,
and you have to be strict about yourself, because the moment you go below your threshold, you've actually lowered it.
And people actually are agreeing with you here. They say, I agree totally with the integrity threshold. Being quality-oriented pays off in the long run, in my opinion. So people agree with you.
This is a kind of personal branding as well. You show what you are, what you stand for, and clients will get to know you for that.
Okay, and I don't think that's a part of personal branding. It's actually the personal branding, what you are, who you are, and what people have in mind and your clients have in mind when they think about your name and you. So actually, I totally agree. My 2 cents here to the question about if we have to make clear. Of course, we make clear to our clients. I always, before I accepting a project, tell them how I'm going to work. For example, if the deadline is very strict, like we might need more days, or we might split it to translators, and they know it. And I actually tell them that the quality might not be that good, or we might need a reviewer in order to assure the quality if this project is going to be split, for example, or that we're going to work 2 or 3 translators for this project, or we are going to work with a team of reviewers and translators. So every time that I accept a project, I tell them beforehand how I work, how am I doing, so the client knows. I can tell from my experience that sometimes they're not that interested in knowing. They just want the delivery of the project, and that's okay. That is okay. Because they have a business, they have a company, they are senior executives, they are not very interested in how you are doing, but they want what you are doing at the end, the time that they want it. But for the person that asked the question, what I'm doing, I always describe how I'm doing, and also for confidentiality reasons, because I want them to know that I'm going to share this information with other people before I'm doing that, even though I have most of the times signed a confidentiality agreement with them. So that was very interesting. We have many comments here. Serif, hello Serif. It defines how you work daily and strategically. Yes, thank you. They watch us on YouTube.
The comment above is interesting. It says, when you use partnerships, aren't you a kind of company? Because you will need to subcontract someone else, and you need
to now I saw that.
Well, of course, as I said, you're kind of a mini agency. Except that people do not work in your company; they work for your company. You work with freelancers. Do you need a project manager to do this work? That depends on how much translation work you still want to do yourself. For instance, in my case, 80% of my time still goes to translation, 20% goes to project management. If that project management part would go up to 50 or 60%, I would probably have to hire an external project manager, a freelance project manager. Of course, you can only do that if the revenue you get from hiring the project manager is higher than what he or she may cost you. And that's not an easy exercise. So, but you yourself need to decide how much translation work do I still want to do myself, and how much project management do I want to do? And that's different for everybody.
Yeah, it's different, but if they want our experience, like I can share my experience. I prefer to be the project manager and manage the projects on my own, rather than to delegate this to someone else at the moment. But as Herman says, it depends also of the size. Like if you're going to be bigger and bigger and bigger, well, you might not be able to do that on your own. But if I had something to delegate, I would prefer to delegate other specializations and other language combinations to other translators and reviewers, rather than to delegate the actual project management, because it's the way that I interact with my clients and what my clients see before they see the translation itself.
Anyway, if I can reassure that person, I'm not.
We lost Herman. Herman, can you hear us? Probably there is a connection issue, because I can see you on Instagram, but I cannot hear you on Instagram. I only see you on Instagram. Now Herman is back with us.
Yeah, I don't know why.
Hello, Ileana.
Anyway, what I wanted to say to reassure that person.
It's the first time I have this technical issue with the speaker to disappear and then appear. So you have to check something there with electricity or the network. Because I can say that in Athens here, we do not have such a great network, but I'm not disappearing, so something is a setting. They say great speaker. Hi from Argentina. Hello from Argentina. We have viewers from all over the world. That's so great. And they say that you're a great speaker. So thank you so much once again for accepting my invitation.
You're welcome.
So I think we have addressed most of the questions. To recap, we just talked about leadership, mindset. Of course, you mentioned that it's very important. I always add about mindset. I think that's what separates the best from the rest. They say, I can say the successful from the not successful. True. It's the mindset first and then the quality also, as we mentioned. You mentioned a good network of professionals and how you found them. And you keep finding them through conferences also. You mentioned about then marketing. Do you want to get into that a bit? Or you had something else in mind to talk about?
Marketing.
You mentioned the third section of your workshop was about marketing and networking. And the second was the organization. If we have covered the organization, or you would like to add something about the organization too?
Well, the organization was just about hard and software. And you need to have the best hardware and software possible.
Okay, I'm interested in that. I would like to hear your opinion.
Well, most translators try to get as much free software as possible.
That's the main topic that we discussed since I met you. That's why I'm laughing.
Which to me is a kind of wrong approach. I mean, you have excellent free software that you can use, and by all means use that, of course. But most of the excellent software is not free, is paying. And people look at it as if it were a cost, but that's the wrong idea. Paying for something that is excellent and that can help your business move forward is not a cost, but is an investment. Using a good network of people that you pay a good price is not a cost, but an investment. So the word cost should be avoided as much as possible. Everything you do, everything you pay for is an investment to earn more later.
But can I interrupt you? You have to be able to distinguish what is cost in your business and what is actually investment, and if this investment is going to pay back to you.
Well,
so you have to be very clear.
Cost is electricity, water, I don't know, everything that you use, paper, pen.
Okay.
That's all cost. But a good computer, good software, good people, good tools, also the time that you invest on your marketing, I use the word invest, is an investment and not a cost.
But I can say, like, for example, a cost of travel expenses, that also cost. These are also expenses. But if you travel, for example, for a conference, that's a great investment, in my opinion. And some people, they see it as a cost, which I totally disagree with that. And of course, you mentioned also, And
which is very important is, once in a while, you will invest in something and it will not work out. That can be a marketing thing, that can be software, it can be anything else. That's normal. I mean, being an entrepreneur is taking risks. And we should once in a while take a risk. And sometimes it backfires and it doesn't work. Well, you can react in two ways to it. You can be very sorry about it, but you can also say, okay, now I've learned that this will not work for me. I won't do it anymore.
Okay.
I see someone asks for examples of good software.
Yes, we're going into that.
Good OCR software, a good CAD tool, good software that you can work with all kinds of file types, because sometimes you get the craziest kinds of like, for instance, this week I got .po files from a client. Now you can work with them in your CAD tool, but you need to know your CAD tool very good to work with these files.
Okay.
So that's why I said the better you know your software, the better you can help your client. Something that is also very important, it's not to do with the organization, but more with marketing, is having a mission and vision.
Yeah, right. But before going to that, can I ask you, you can share later the software in the comments, because people are very interested in the software themselves.
Okay, well, most of the people actually know what kind of software they need.
Okay.
It's not a real secret. It's not like I have.
No, but they might need your recommendation. They might need your recommendation.
Yes,
what softwares you actually use? Because a lot of speakers, they have talked about their softwares because they are different than mine. For example, the CAT tools. But it's always nice to talk about what we prefer. It's not a recommendation. We do not make here any advertisement or promotion. We do not promote anything. We just recommend what works for us. This might not work for everyone, okay? This is very personal, what software we use, and depends on our company, what type, and how we work. So, Herman?
Yeah, well, that's more or less the business organization. Of course, you need to have a pretty good organization as to follow up of your projects, have a CRM system that you can make yourself of all your clients, of all your network. You need to be organized, period. And the better you're organized, the more efficient that you are, and the less time you spend on this project management. Being efficient is key, basically.
Yeah, of course.
So that's efficiency.
Do you have any CRM recommendation?
Well, I was using up till a little while ago, I was using Microsoft OneNote to organize all my information, etc. But I've recently shifted to a new piece of software, which is the piece of software I haven't been as enthusiastic about a new piece of software as I have been now for many years, and that is called Notion. It's Notion.so, if I'm not mistaken. And
I've seen this. Is it AI? This is artificial intelligence tool?
No, not really. Sorry.
I saw it somewhere. Let us know a bit about it.
Well, you can enter information on it. You can enter databases in it. You can make a content calendar in it. It's got plenty of templates, also for a content calendar for your marketing, for instance. And it's up to a certain point, it's free. And even if it's paid, it's only like something like 30 or 40 euro per year. So it's not much. And you can literally have all of your information in one tool, literally everything. Okay. Which is very easy instead of having to have it in different places.
Someone says it's overwhelming for me,
Herman. It's not that overwhelming.
Depends, yes, okay.
Just fiddle with it, and it's quite intuitive, and you can watch many videos on YouTube to know how it works. It's not that it doesn't have such a steep learning curve.
They ask you here if you know the software better, if you did take any courses or just read like the user manual, or because it's easy to know the basic, but what courses would you recommend in order to go into deeper?
I'm usually an autodidact, so I learn it myself. If you're a bit used to working with software, you don't have to be a geek or an IT expert to work with all that software. That's the organization part, but then there's quite an important thing on the marketing and networking part, because what I always see is that when a translator presents himself or herself, and somebody asks you, what do you do? Most people say, I'm a translator from that language into that language, that kind of specialization. And that's where the conversation stops, because the other person says in himself, okay, so what?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so you need to say something else. And that's where mission and vision become important. Now, the mission, if I want to teach someone what your mission is, I would ask you, for instance, why did you set up your company? Why did you start as a freelance translator? What was the goal of becoming a freelance translator? Which is not that easy to do, but you can find it. For instance, there was the other day, there was someone who said, I would like to make sure that my clients get access to the German market. Yeah. Okay, that's an excellent mission. And then there's a vision, and the vision is how you want to do this. For instance, this person said something like, by providing quality translations in the tone of a very touristic tone. I don't remember what it was. So if you take those two at the same time, I want to help clients getting access to the German market by providing a very good touristic translation, something like that. If you say that at a networking event, people will be triggered, people will be curious, they will be interested. Okay, tell me more about this. How do you do this? Who do you work for, etc., etc. So, and then you get the conversation going, and you can give your whole pitch, your whole sales pitch.
The unique selling proposition, as we say, also.
Yeah, for instance, you can.
Yeah.
And so why? What sets you apart from all the other ones?
Of course. And why to choose you? And they say here, like they were talking with a client, and once they mentioned they can use many translation software, they seemed more interested in working with them. So.
Okay, as long as you make it clear it's not machine translation.
Yeah. If the client knows that, okay, the difference.
No, they don't. That's why you have to explain most of the time.
That's the most problem.
Explaining things to a client is very good, but you shouldn't over-explain.
Okay.
We tend to use much technical jargon that, I mean, if you talk about the translation memory or CAT tools, even worse, doesn't say anything to the client. So you should avoid talking about that. You have to keep it simple. So
they say here also the nicest for you that she vouched for you because you have great programs and methods, and that you're very organized with how you take and save your pictures. Can you say a bit about this?
Okay, Dana, you will have to elaborate on that. You have no idea what it's about.
Okay, maybe you haven't had any discussion during PP. I can mention here, because I neglected to do that. I always mention how we met with my speakers, and I neglected that. With Herman, I think we were both speakers at the Marketing Success Summit for Translators. Yep. Okay, and then we met in person at PP conference in Bologna last year. And since then we had a chemistry click, we can say on that. We have many common interests, and I remember that Herman talked to me a lot about video creation. He was creating videos back then. We have another, like, why you think several clients are so interested in machine translation, Omid asks.
Not my clients. My clients come specifically to me because I am not using machine translation.
Okay. Maybe the most technology-oriented companies are interested, or what do you think?
There's still a lot of things that agencies say about machine translation, but there's a lot of things that people do not say about machine translation. One of the most important things, and I'm now saying it a bit black and white, if a translation has been made with machine translation, even if someone revised it, if someone did post-editing, the client who receives that translation has no copyright on it. Why?
Yeah, you're going a bit deeper to that. Yeah, that's very
interesting. For copyright, you need to have a creative creation, and a machine, per definition, cannot create creatively.
Yeah, maybe they're not interested in that. Maybe. I'm saying, like, okay, Danai says the apps on your mobile, for example, pictures related to location. Yeah, remember, in Ferrara.
I remember now, but that's got nothing to do with the business.
No, but you are a very techy guy. But what this says, like, you are into programs and organization and the softwares.
Yeah, you have to.
Can I ask a question? Like, I find very interesting. If you had one software to recommend that's the most important in your business right now, and you could totally recommend, but it should be only one, what that would be for someone who wants to scale up and who want to become successful as you are, according to the model of business that you describe?
Gosh, that's a difficult one.
You can think about it and answer it at the end. Since I can just let you know that on Instagram we're going off in 1 hour, but you can find us on YouTube and Facebook. And we've been talking like almost 1 hour here. Thank you so much. So we can cover a bit the last part, that if you would like to say anything more about the marketing and networking you said. And then we can recap with specific tips to share.
Okay, well, for networking, I think we said more or less enough. Although one thing that happens a lot when you go and do networking, you of course exchange business cards. What I do immediately when I get home or the day after is follow up, contact those people on LinkedIn, of course, with a note, not just ask for connection, but saying, look, we saw each other the other day. It was very nice talking to you. It would be nice to remain connected here. And in 95% of the cases, you will get a yes. They will connect to you. I also scan the business cards. I put them in my CRM system. And let's say I met a very interesting person from a gardening company. And I see online, we're looking for a gardening company in this location. Do you know anyone? And it happens to be, the one person that I met happens to be such a person in that location. I will refer to them.
Cool.
So that's also, if you refer other people, they might refer you as well. It's always, you have to give before you can get.
That's a great strategy in order to ask also for reviews and referrals.
Yeah, and giving should happen without expecting anything in return.
Yeah. And what about, I always do that. I really like that you say that. But what comes now about networking that we cannot attend such events?
Why would you not be? Oh, you mean now in this time?
The crisis, the coronavirus, the networking events.
Most of these associations or organizations hold live meetings.
Okay.
They hold masterminds with different entrepreneurs.
Online, you mean?
Online, like with Zoom or something similar.
Okay.
I've already had some of them. And most of the time it was about how do you market now in these difficult times. I already got excellent ideas for marketing from colleagues who are in another industry than you are, and therefore can look at your industry with a fresh pair of eyes. Because it's more interesting. It's interesting to talk to colleagues within the industry, but it can be even more interesting to talk with people outside of the industry, because they watch your industry with a whole other viewpoint.
And especially your target market industry, because you get to know their pains, you get to know their problems, their needs, so as to to offer your services. Fernanda asks about the magazine that you mentioned when we started.
Well, that was something local, very specific. I'm not sure that even exists in
There are some organizations, like Herman mentioned, that you can be part of them, Fernanda. Maybe you can find any local there about small businesses or freelancers that you can become a member and you can network with them. And maybe there is a magazine where you can write for them and pay for the advertisement, something like that. So is there anything else you would like to add for your strategy in the workshop that you covered last week?
I'd have to think.
You're not obliged. We are talking already 1 hour about this topic, and I'm very glad that I had you here. We shared many interesting tips and also information, I think very important information to those that want to scale up.
What people probably already know, working on your business is something you do 24 hours a day, meaning it's always in the back of your head. Even if you go, let's say that you go for a running session outside and you have a pause and you meet people, always have to have this like sales reflex in the back of your head. If you meet people, you don't sell to them, but you can show interest in what they do. And if you show interest in what they do, they will show interest in what you do. And you never know what happens. Also, if you go to this networking event for the first time, for instance, you're usually alone, but there will be other people who are alone.
As well,
if you go to those people, to someone who's standing there alone, he will be very happy that he's got someone to talk to. So he will be very receptive to what you're saying. Of course, you first show interest. You first ask him what are you doing here, who are you, etc. And you listen very carefully, because networking is perhaps even more listening than talking.
Of course, always should be more listening.
Yeah, the same with your client. You also always have to listen more to your client than talk to him.
I'm very interested in finding out what client helped you to scale up and double your business. If it was one company or a specific industry, I can share mine before you can share yours. Like, for example, the time that I did scale up and I issued my first 5-figure invoice was a maritime company, very big maritime company here in Greece.
Well, the advantage that we as a translator have is that almost anyone can become our client. Because even if someone does not need translations, perhaps they need to have their own texts in your mother tongue reviewed or revised. So anybody can become our client. So in my case, my clientele, my portfolio of clients is extremely varied. With literally all kinds of industries.
Yeah, but the year that you did double, for example, your income, or you did...
that was last year.
Okay, so what clients were mostly helped you to do that? Or the industry?
Well, plenty, because my biggest client has a share of perhaps 14% of my turnover. Only. That's my biggest client. So if I ever lose my biggest client, it's not a catastrophe. That's also something which is very important. Your client portfolio should be very varied, and no single client should have more than 20% of your turnover. In the beginning, that's hard, of course. That only happens after a while.
Yeah, don't leave that client because Herman says that. Keep that client, but at the same time, find other sources of income or other clients that you could work with.
Yeah,
but I can share my experience. Like they have my biggest clients. They have a bigger percentage for my yearly income, as you mentioned, like rather than yours, 14%. It's for sure bigger. And I also got my first scale up with an agency. If I can share that, my first scale up, like I issued an invoice for working 1 week that could cover my living for 4 months. So I earned in 1 week what I usually earned in 4 months. So this was like my first success story, if we can say that. I did that with an agency rather than direct client. But yes, I agree that you have to enter the direct markets, the direct clients market in order to make a huge scale up if you want, like as Herman said.
And looking for clients never stops.
Yeah,
well,
that's
actually,
the secret.
You don't look for clients. You don't look for clients; they find you. It's the other way around.
And what do you say for those that they say that I don't want to go after clients because I have mentees like that? So whenever I tell them that you never stop going after clients, and they say I don't like going after clients. I don't like to market my services.
Well, to be blunt. Doing marketing and networking is an inherent part of being an entrepreneur. So you either do it and be an entrepreneur, or you don't, and you're not an entrepreneur. You're just a translator. And if you're just a translator, and there's nothing wrong with that choice, I'm not patronizing. Everybody makes his or her choice, but it's logical that you will never be able to really scale up. And that's just a fact. And there are translators who choose for this, who just want to translate, nothing more, do not want to upscale, do not want to earn a lot more money. They're happy with what they earn, and that's fine. It's just a choice.
Yeah.
But
I assume they are not watching us right now. I assume that they are not watching us.
But if you want to upscale, or scale up, I don't know what it is, you simply have to do all these things. You cannot do it without putting a lot of effort in it. That's perhaps the key message of today. You have to work hard. That's with anything in life in order to reach something. I mean, people who want to run a marathon, once they can do it, you see them running a marathon, but you don't see the many hours, days, weeks, months they put in to be able to do it. Same goes with building your own company and scale up your company. you don't see everything that needs to be done in the background.
I can feel very satisfied when colleagues, they come up to me and they say, like, you're a hard worker. So they see the work behind. They don't say, oh, I like that you are doing that or doing this. They see that I see that you're a hard worker sometimes, or maybe in our profession, or some people might not apply to everyone. But in any case, thank you so much. Herman today shared with us the secrets, how he did this, and you might be able to apply the same in order to reach the point where Herman is, or you just apply the methods in order to reach your own goals, because the goals are very personal and individual to any of us. So set your goals, and we shared today with you the secrets, or if you want, the strategies that you can implement in your business in order to scale up your business and double your income in a few years' time. You can watch the recording anyway. Before, would you like anything else to add before we recap, Herman?
No, just go ahead.
Thank you so much. So we are going to recap. I always do that with all the topics and speakers. I'm going to recap a bit what we discussed already, and you can correct me or add anything that I'm missing, Herman. So we talked about mindset and leadership, and how to change negative thoughts to positive thoughts, and what's the impact on your business and success and development as an entrepreneur. The three main points and strategies in order to become successful and scale up and double your income. First, the leadership mindset, and second, the organization, where Herman shared with us specific softwares and tips how he's organizing his business. And third, the marketing and networking, about which we spoke a lot. We discussed a lot with Herman, and with specific tips that Herman applies in his business in order to reach his marketing goals. So they say thank you. It was very nice meeting you at BP19. Thank you too. Okay, we shared some software also. So Herman shared with us some softwares and tools, also confidence and how to be confident in order to do that, the right mindset, the right organization, and taking risks. Also, it was, if we can say, the key point for me, becoming an entrepreneur, thinking as an entrepreneur rather than as a translator, if you want to do what we are saying and discussing today. Is there anything I'm missing, Herman?
Well, something we haven't covered, but that's not a problem, is that it's also very important to make goals, make plans. You have to write a lot. This is what we did during the masterclass. But that's
what do you mean by make goals? What do you mean by make goals?
Well, know where you want to be in a few years' time, but know very concretely. Dare to dream big. Because the higher you set your goal, the more you will reach than if you set your goal a bit lower, because you're doing other things. Let me get into that just a little bit. Let's say you're earning 50,000 euros per year now. You have a turnover of 50,000 euros.
Okay.
And you set a goal. You have two choices. You can either set your goal for in 2 years' time for 100,000 euros per year, or you can set it at 200,000 euros per year. If you set your goal at 200,000 euros per year in 2 years' time, you will do other things than if your goal is 100,000 euros per year.
Of course.
You may not reach 200,000 euros in 2 years' time, but you may perhaps reach 150 or 130. If you took the goal of 100,000 euros per year, you perhaps only reached 80,000. So that's why you should always dream big, because the bigger you dream, the higher you will end up, because you're doing other things.
Yeah. And speaking of that, I was asked yesterday by my mentee how much a translator can earn per month, for example, per year, because you mentioned some numbers here. So this is a common question I get from starting out translators.
Well, there is no limit.
Really?
Can
become a billionaire by being a translator? Someone? No. By being an entrepreneur, yes.
You have to be an entrepreneur. That's why I made the distinction.
Yeah.
But a six-figure number is even quite easy to reach. It depends on your country, of course, because in one country is not the same as another. Okay. Scandinavia is not the same as the south of Europe. So reaching 100,000 euros will be easier in Scandinavia than in the south of Europe, I imagine.
Yeah, but it's also very higher the limit of living there, also living expenses. So
that's why. But a six-figure number is certainly easily reachable.
So glad that I can hear that. I think it was very positive what you said already. We didn't disappoint anyone. Anyone says it's very lovely listening to you too. Thank you so much. We're going to remain in the group interacting with you guys. I'm expecting for Herman to answer my question about software maybe in the group. So if you're not a member of the group, you can become right now. We lost Herman as well. So thank you all that were here watching us. I'm waiting a bit. If Herman can... Okay, this device is not connected, so probably Herman has a problem with his connection. Herman, can you hear us? The third time that at least we managed to do the live. Thank you, Virginia, Herman, great talk. So thank you guys for being here. I think we had 50 people or more watching us live. We have many comments to deal with. So Herman will follow up with you guys and I will be also. David says, I recommend a very good book about the difference between being an entrepreneur and a technician. The E-Myth Revisited. Can you see it, Herman?
Yeah, I've heard about it, but I haven't read it.
Okay, thank you, David.
If you want to read an excellent book, it's a very old book, but it's an excellent book. It's Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. It's from 1937. So it's pretty old. It's almost 100 years old, but it's still totally valid. Everything you can
Isn't it? And I keep reading new books, but they can repeating the same message that this book used to mention so many years ago. And I have it here, so I would like to share it with people. So that's
I've got it as well.
That's it here.
Yeah, it's an excellent book.
Yeah, and also I like this.
And it's been translated also in many, many languages, so you don't have to read it in English.
This is also very good. Have you read that?
No.
Okay.
I don't read many books, to be honest.
I do read a lot of books, so my library is full of books. But thank you again. Thank you, David, for the recommendation. If you want more resources, you will find us in the group. Thank you, Fernanda. Thank you, Olga. Thank you, all of you that being here with us. Thank you, David. And thank you, Jackie. People are listening to us from all over the world. I'm so happy that you find this interesting. Go back and watch the recording and keep notes of what's the name of the old book. The old book you mentioned, France, is the one. Can you repeat the book, Herman?
It's from Napoleon Hill, but you can show it. It's perhaps easier. So Think and Grow Rich.
Think and Grow Rich, that is it. And thank you, Elena. Elena is also was a speaker at BP conference. Thank you all for supporting us here. And this was the Ask Your Mentor Anything live in the Mentoring for Translators group. You can watch us live on YouTube, Facebook public page under my name and the actual group. We were also for one time live on Instagram, but there's a limitation there for the time. And Herman, do you offer your book also for 2 or 3? How many participants would you like us to do this?
Well, I have
lottery.
I have an ebook which gives the 21 most important features of a successful entrepreneur, and
it's very interesting,
also with tips on. I mean, it's not, the idea is not that you really have all these 121 features, because I think that's quite impossible.
Okay.
But you should at least have as many as possible. And for every feature, there is 3 tips on how to make sure that you get this feature within yourself. And it's an ebook in PDF format. And I was thinking of, well, you could organize a lottery of some kind, and a couple of people can then
Tell me the number. Tell me the number so as to be concrete. Well, how many are you going to give?
Well, we're the first of the 5th of the year, the 5th month. Let's take 5 people then.
Okay, 5 people from those who commented, because we cannot find all of you. For those who commented under the actual live, there's going to be a lottery, and 5 people for those who did comment to us, ask any question or participated in the actual live by interacting somehow. We'll create a lottery, and we'll give 5 ebooks from. It's very interesting. I just read it, and it's so useful. So if you are for the book, comment below ebook, the word ebook, and the lottery will happen during the weekend, most probably. So thank you so much again, everyone. Thank you, Herman. I hope to meet you again live at a conference this time.
Gladly.
We always have great time. I'm so happy that we share so many common ideas, because half of what you said I just presented to the conference and yet just created a workshop all around it. So it's so interesting that you have gathered all this information in one place. Fernanda says great. I assume for the ebook, Fernanda. Yes, Herman is very generous. And he's going to be in the group for any of your questions, and you can reach him out. He's also a coach to other translators, so if you need anything or any advice, you can reach direct them. So yes, people are commenting they would like the book, so there will be, yes, a lottery later. So thank you, Herman. See you next Friday with another topic, another speaker. I wish to see you all again. So bye-bye for now, and see you in the group. Bye, Herman.